Subscribe because it's free.
The ship groaned as it drifted through the void, its once proud hull now a patchwork of emergency repairs. Smoke clung to the air, mixing with the metallic tang of exposed circuitry. Commander Varen clenched his jaw, staring at the dim readouts on the flickering command console. Caldrex, 7 was barely holding together, and his crew knew it. The battle had been a disaster. The Vahari fleet had struck with brutal efficiency, tearing through their defenses in minutes. The Zelvani were warriors, trained for strength and precision, yet they had been outmaneuvered, outgunned. Now, deep in uncharted space, with power reserves dwindling and life support failing, their fate seemed sealed. "Commander!" rasped Ralvek, the chief engineer, wiping soot from his pale, scale face. "We need a shipyard immediately. Hull integrity is at 23%. If we take another hit, we'll vent atmosphere to the entire lower deck." Varen exhaled sharply. The Zelvani Empire had no outposts in this region. No allies, no safe harbor. He tapped the navigation console, bringing up nearby systems. One planet stood out. Earth, a pre-hyperdrive world. According to their records, humans were a primitive species, still struggling to expand beyond their home system. There was little strategic value in their existence, beyond minor trade agreements and their curious adaptability to extreme environments. Yet, they had orbital stations, industrial facilities. A long shot, but the only one they had. "Send a distress signal," Varen ordered, his voice tight. "Broad spectrum transmission. Let's see if these humans are as eager to help as they claim." A moment passed, then another. Static filled the bridge as the transmission was relayed. Varen crossed his arms, expecting either silence or demand for compensation. Instead, a voice crackled through the speakers. "This is Captain Elias Carter of the UES Perseverance. We received your distress signal. What's your status?" Varen exchanged a glance with his officers. Direct, efficient, no hesitation. "Our vessel is critically damaged," he admitted, choosing his words carefully. "Primary systems failing. We require immediate repairs." Carter's response came almost instantly. "Understood. We have a station near Titan that can assist. Sending coordinates now. We'll guide you in." No negotiation, no conditions. The humans responded as if this was routine. Varen narrowed his eyes. They should have asked for something in return. Territorial rights, technological trade, at the very least a security guarantee. Yet they acted without hesitation, offering help to a species they barely knew. "Commander!" Ralvek muttered, eyes on the display. "Their ship, it's moving to escort us." Sure enough, the human vessel flanked them, maintaining a precise formation. Though smaller than the Caldrex 7, its movements were sharp, deliberate, tactical efficiency, not the mark of a primitive race. The journey to Titan took only hours. As they approached, the Zelvani crew braced for what they expected. Crude docking bays, inefficient resource management, a species still fumbling through the early stages of spaceflight. But what they saw defied every assumption. A station, massive in scale, stretched across Titan's orbit, illuminated by the glow of shipyards larger than anything in the Zelvani Empire. Dozens of vessels moved in synchronized patterns, guided by an invisible network of AI-driven commands. The sheer industrial capacity on display dwarfed anything in Zelvani space. Varen barely masked the surprise. "This is not what I expected." Carter's voice came through once more. "Docking Bay 17 is prepped for your arrival. Our engineers are standing by." With cautious precision, the Caldrex 7 maneuvered toward the designated bay. The docking clamps engaged smoothly, magnetic seals locking in place. No delays, no errors. The efficiency was unsettling. Varen turned to Ralvek. "Prepare a team to oversee the repairs. I don't trust them to handle our systems without supervision." As the airlock cycled open, human engineers stepped forward, calm, methodical, moving with purpose. They carried diagnostic tools as Zelvani had never seen before, scanning damage reports in seconds, identifying faults faster than their own crew. "Your reactor shielding is compromised," one engineer noted, glancing at a holographic readout. We can fabricate a new matrix in under 2 hours. 2 hours? That was impossible. Zelvani repair teams took days for similar work. Varen folded his arms, watching. Humans were not only willing to help, they were dangerously competent. Then came the words that unsettled him most. "We'll upgrade it while we're at it," another engineer added casually. Varen stiffened. "Upgrade?" The human smiled. "Your system is outdated. We have something better." He didn't know whether to feel insulted or intrigued. The Zelvani were a proud species. They had conquered worlds, crushed rebellions, established an empire through strength and technological might. And here stood a human, speaking as if their technology was obsolete. Ralvek muttered under his breath. "Commander, what if they're right?" Varen didn't answer. He simply watched as the humans worked, swiftly, efficiently, with an ease that suggested they had done this 1,000 times before. Hours passed. The Zelvani expected delays, setbacks, complications. Instead, the humans continued without pause. They weren't just repairing the Cauldrex 7. They were rebuilding it, enhancing it with materials the Zelvani had never encountered, optimizing systems with methods that defy conventional logic. This was not the work of a struggling species. This was not the work of primitives. This was the work of a civilization that knew exactly what it was doing. Varen watched as the repairs unfolded, a sinking realization forming in his mind. They had come to humanity seeking help. But what humanity was offering was something much, much more. Varen paced the bridge, hands clasped behind his back. He had always believed in the superiority of the Zelvani fleet, in the technological dominance of his people. Yet, as he watched a repair team swarm over the Cauldrex 7, dismantling damaged systems with a speed and precision his own engineers couldn't match, doubt gnawed at him. "They work too fast," he muttered. "This level of efficiency is unnatural." Ralvek stood beside him, watching the human crews as they navigated the ship's infrastructure with unsettling ease. "They're not just fixing things, Commander. They're improving them." That was what disturbed Varen the most. The human engineers didn't merely replace broken components. They optimized them, restructuring power grids for efficiency, reinforcing bulkheads with alloys the Zelvani Empire had never encountered. And the AI, Varen had always distrusted artificial intelligence. The Zelvani relied on tradition, on the skill of organic minds. Machines were tools, nothing more. Yet here, humans wove AI into their operations seamlessly. Every repair drone moved with uncanny precision, guided by a network of automated intelligence that seemed almost alive. A human engineer passed by, nodding in greeting before glancing at his wrist-mounted console. "Your hull plating was inefficient," he remarked. "We replaced it with graphene-infused composite. Should hold up better under high-energy impacts." Varen's eyes narrowed. "You replaced it? Without authorization?" The engineer shrugged. "We assumed you prefer a ship that doesn't shatter under sustained fire." Ralvek exhaled slowly. "He's not wrong, Commander." Varen clenched his jaw. It was maddening. The humans made it look effortless. There was no hesitation in their work, no sluggish adherence to protocol. Zelvani engineers would have spent days calculating risk factors before attempting modifications like these. Yet the humans operated on pure instinct, adjusting as they went, adapting without pause. The result? A warship that was already beginning to feel different, more efficient, more dangerous. A subtle shift in his perception was taking place, one he didn't like. He had arrived assuming humanity was inferior. Now he wasn't so sure. Then came the real shock. "We noticed your reactor output was fluctuating," another engineer announced as he approached. "Your energy core uses a third-phase fusion matrix, right?" Varen gave a slow nod. "Yes. What of it?" "Well, that's a problem," the human replied matter-of-factly. "That design wastes about 30% of its potential output due to inefficient heat dissipation. We retrofitted a thermal regulation loop and added a quantum stabilizer. You should see a 25% increase in power efficiency." Silence. Varen turned slowly to Ralvek. His chief engineer's expression was unreadable. "That's impossible," Ralvek murmured. "No, it's basic engineering. the human corrected. "You just didn't think to try it." Varen's fist clenched. Every fiber of his being resisted the idea that an underdeveloped species could outthink the Zolvani. Yet the proof was undeniable. The ship's internal readings were stabilizing faster than they should. Power output had already increased. The numbers didn't lie. "These upgrades," Varen said, forcing his voice to remain steady. "Do you implement them on all your ships?" The human laughed. "We make upgrades all the time. Standard practice. No system is ever perfect." The words struck him harder than they should have. Zolvani doctrine was rigid. Ships were built according to time-tested specifications. They were never changed, never altered. Innovation came through generations of slow refinement. But humans treated technology like a living thing, constantly evolving, constantly improving. Ralvek leaned closer, lowering his voice. "Commander, if they can do this in a few hours, imagine what their own warships must be like." That thought lingered. Varen had always assumed humanity was behind the galactic superpowers. Their lack of an empire, their absence from major conflicts, had led him to believe they were weak. Now he wondered if the truth was something far more dangerous. What if humanity wasn't absent because they were weak? What if they were simply waiting for the right moment? A new voice cut through his thoughts. "Commander!" He turned to see Captain Elias Carter, standing in the airlock, arms crossed. The human officer had an easy confidence about him. Casual, yet controlled. Not the arrogance of a conqueror, but the certainty of a man who knew exactly what he was capable of. "I assume the repairs meet your expectations?" Carter asked. Varen hesitated, then gave a slow nod. "Your people are efficient." Carter smirked. That's one way to put it. He glanced at the diagnostic displays. "You'll be fully operational in under an hour. Your ship should be better than before." Varen studied him carefully. "You did all this without asking for anything in return." The human's expression didn't change. "You needed help. We helped. That's what we do." Varen's fingers tightened at his sides. "Why?" A long pause. Carter met his gaze evenly. "Because one day we might need help too." The simplicity of the statement caught him off guard. The Zolvani didn't function this way. Everything was transactional. Alliances built on power, on necessity, on leverage. But humans? They extended a hand, expecting nothing, simply because it was the right thing to do. That was perhaps the most dangerous thing of all. Before Varen could respond, an alarm blared through the station. Human personnel snapped to attention, moving with immediate precision. Carter's communicator chimed, and he pressed a finger to his earpiece. "What is it?" A tense voice responded. "Sir, we got incoming. Unidentified vessels just entered the outer system. We're reading Vahari's signatures." Varen stiffened. "They tracked us." Carter exhaled sharply. So it would seem. The human captain didn't panic. He didn't hesitate. He simply turned to his officers. "Raise shields, power up defense platforms. Scramble the fleet." Varen's breath caught. "Scramble the fleet? You're preparing to fight?" he asked, incredulous. Carter glanced at him. "Of course. What else would we do?" Varen's mind reeled. The Zolvani would have cut their losses, abandoned the station, fled to fight another day. But humans? They stood their ground without question. The alarms grew louder. Ships were already moving into formation, every vessel responding in perfect synchronization. No chaos, no hesitation. Just immediate, decisive action. Varen had thought he came here for repairs. Now, he realized he had come for something much greater. Humanity wasn't just fixing his ship. They were about to show him how they fought. Varen stood frozen for only a second before snapping into action. Ralvek battle stations. Now! His chief engineer bolted toward the command console, issuing orders in rapid succession. Across the ship, Zolvani officers scrambled to their posts, but it was already clear. They were out of place. This wasn't their battle, but it was humanity's. The humans moved with terrifying efficiency. Within seconds, tactical displays lit up across the station. Automated defense platforms powered up, and surrounding fleet formed an interlocking web of firepower. There was no panic, no shouting, just immediate, seamless coordination. "They don't even need orders," Ralvek muttered, eyes wide. "They already know what to do." Varen had fought in dozens of battles. He had commanded fleets, broken enemy lines, outmaneuvered armadas. But he had never seen an entire defense force move like a single well-trained organism. Vahari fleet entering attack range. A human officer called out. 6 cruisers, 2 dreadnoughts, 1 carrier. They're deploying fighters. Varen's blood ran cold. That was enough firepower to wipe out a planetary colony. The Zelvani had barely survived their last encounter with similar force. Carter's response was unnervingly calm. "Lock on all weapons. Designate primary targets." The human officer hesitated. "Sir, should we warn them?" Carter's expression hardened. "They just attacked one of our guests. No warnings." The sheer audacity of the statement sent a shiver down Varen's spine. Humans weren't just preparing to fight. They were preparing to win. The Vahari didn't wait. They opened fire in a brutal first strike. Crimson energy beams slicing through the void. 2 human defense platforms took direct hits, their shields flaring under the assault. Explosions rippled through space. And then the humans fired back, not in a desperate counterattack, not in a reckless barrage, but with absolute calculated destruction. The station's railgun platforms activated in perfect sync, unleashing hypersonic slugs that tore through enemy shields like wet paper. Human warships maneuvered in impossibly tight formations, executing flanking strikes with pinpoint precision. "They're reading the enemy's movements," Varen murmured, watching in disbelief. "They're predicting them before they happen." Ralvek was gripping the console, his face pale. "This isn't a defense. This is an execution." The human ships weren't just powerful. They were smart. Vahari fighters swarmed forward, attempting to break through the human formation. Within seconds, automated defense drones swiveled to track them, unleashing a hail of kinetic rounds that shredded entire squadrons. Not one drone missed a shot. A human battleship peeled off, engines burning blue as it cut directly toward the Vahari carrier. Varen expected hesitation, caution, at least a tactical retreat if the odds turned. Instead, the battleship unleashed something horrifying. A single concentrated beam of white-hot energy lanced forward, striking the carrier's core. The entire ship convulsed, then detonated in a catastrophic chain reaction. Debris scattered in all directions. A single shot. Varen felt his stomach drop. The Vahari were losing. Fast. On their own, the Zelvani had barely escaped this enemy. But the humans were destroying them. With ease. "This is impossible," Varen whispered. Carter glanced at him. "Why?" The question hit him like a strike to the chest. Because the Zelvani were supposed to be stronger. Because they had spent centuries refining their military doctrine, crafting strategies, believing in their own dominance. And yet, in mere minutes, humanity had dismantled an enemy the Zelvani had feared. Aboard the Caldrex 7, alarms blared as the ship's systems came back to full power. "Commander," Ralvek said urgently, "our weapons are operational. We can join the fight." Varen hesitated. He had commanded countless battles, but this was different. The humans didn't need them. In fact, it was humanity leading the charge. Still, his pride wouldn't let him stand idle. Target the nearest enemy cruiser. Fire at will. The Caldrex 7 unleashed its own barrage, joining the human forces. But as he watched the battle unfold, Varen knew the truth. This wasn't the Zelvani's fight. It was humanity's lesson. Another Vahari dreadnought tried to retreat. A human destroyer accelerated, cutting off its escape path. Missiles streaked forward, bypassing energy shields through sheer technological brilliance. The dreadnought crumpled, torn apart piece by piece. "This is annihilation," Ralvek whispered. Varen exhaled, watching the last enemy ships crumble under humanity's relentless assault. Within minutes, the battle was over. A Vahari war fleet reduced to nothing, and the humans, they were already standing down as if nothing had happened. Carter's voice cut through the comms. Damage report. Minor hull fractures on defense platforms. No major losses. That was it. That was all. Varen had lost half his fleet in a similar engagement. The humans had lost nothing. He turned to Carter, his throat dry. "You were holding back." The human captain gave him a measured look. "We didn't need to go all out." Varen swallowed hard. He had come here thinking humanity was a backwater species. Now he realized something terrifying. Humanity had already surpassed the Zelvani. They just hadn't bothered to say anything. Before Varen could speak, another human officer turned toward Carter. "Sir, the Vahari fleet is wiped out. Should we pursue?" Pursue? The Zelvani never pursued. When the enemy was broken, they regrouped, reassessed. But humans? Carter considered it for a moment, then shook his head. "No need. They've learned their lesson." Varen barely suppressed a shiver. For the first time in his life, he wasn't sure whether he should be relieved or afraid. Silence filled the bridge of the Caldrex 7. Not the silence of tension, nor the silence of fear, but something heavier, something final. The battle was over. The Vahari fleet, once a force that had driven the Zelvani into desperate retreat, was gone. Not crippled, not scattered, destroyed. And humanity? They had moved on as if nothing had happened. Varen's fingers curled into a fist at his side. He had spent his entire career believing in the strength of the Zelvani, in the superiority of their war doctrine, their strategy. But today, he had seen something far beyond that. The humans weren't just strong. They were dominant. "Commander?" Varen turned sharply at the sound of Captain Carter's voice. The human was standing near the viewport, arms crossed, watching the debris field that had once been an enemy fleet. "You fought well," Carter said simply. Varen didn't respond, because in truth, he wasn't sure he had fought at all. The Caldrex 7 had fired on a single enemy cruiser. That was it. The humans had done everything else. Instead of acknowledging the compliment, he asked a question that had been burning in his mind since the moment the battle started. "How?" Carter raised an eyebrow. "How did you do this?" Varen clarified. His voice was steady, but he could hear the edge in it. "How did you win so easily?" Carter exhaled, turning back toward the viewport. "Because we never stop improving." Varen waited for him to continue, but the human said nothing more. Never stop improving. The words echoed in his mind. The Zelvani had spent centuries perfecting their warships, their strategies, their fleets. Every battle doctrine was a product of millennia of refinement. Yet, against humanity, none of it had mattered, because the humans didn't perfect things. They evolved. Varen's gaze swept across the station. Engineers were already at work, analyzing battle data, tweaking systems, making real-time adjustments. No celebration, no self-congratulation, just the relentless pursuit of better. He turned back to Carter. "You planned for this?" The human captain nodded. "Of course. War isn't a surprise to us. We assume it's coming. Always." A shiver ran down Varen's spine. For the Zelvani, war was a strategic necessity. For the Vahari, war was a tool for conquest. For humans, war was an inevitability. They didn't fight because they wanted to. They fought because they expected to. And that made them unstoppable. Varen inhaled deeply. The Vahari will regroup. This was only a single fleet. There will be retaliation. Carter's expression didn't change. Let them come. The sheer confidence in those 3 words was staggering. Not arrogance, not bravado, just certainty. Varen had seen how the humans fought. He had seen how they adapted, how they learned. If the Vahari returned, the next engagement wouldn't just be a repeat of this one. It would be worse. For the Vahari, for a moment, Varen considered what would have happened if the Zelvani had been humanity's enemy instead of their ally. His species wouldn't have survived. Carter studied him for a moment. "You don't have to say it, Commander. I can see it in your eyes." Varen's jaw tightened. "Say what?" "That everything you believed about us was wrong." He wanted to deny it, to argue, but what was the point? The evidence was right in front of him. Varen exhaled sharply. "The Zelvani do not change quickly." Carter smirked. "That's the problem, isn't it?" Varen didn't respond, because he already knew the answer. The humans had changed everything. Ralvek approached cautiously. "Commander, repairs are complete. The ship is fully operational." Varen nodded but didn't move. He wasn't sure he wanted to leave. Not yet, because deep down he knew, if he left now, the Zelvani would return to their ways. They would pretend that this battle was a fluke, that humanity was an anomaly, but he knew the truth. And truth, once seen, could not be ignored. "You have what you came for," Carter said. "Your ship is better than before. Your fleet will survive another day." Varen studied him. "And what do you get out of this, human?" Carter's smirk faded. He held Varen's gaze for a long moment before answering. "A future." The word sent a chill down his spine. Humans weren't helping because they were kind. They weren't fixing warships out of charity. They were preparing. For what, Varen didn't know. But he had a feeling that when the time came, the entire galaxy would find out, and it would never be the same again. Varen turned toward the airlock. "We'll meet again, Captain." Carter smiled. "I'm counting on it." The Caldrex 7 pulled away from the station, its engines humming with renewed power. Varen watched the human fleet shrink into the distance. For the first time in his life, he wasn't sure if the Zelvani were at the top of the galactic order anymore, or if humanity had already surpassed them long ago, and had simply been waiting for the rest of the galaxy to realize it.